I would like to remind everybody that the session is recorded. So those of you who do not want to be seen, please switch off your cameras. And if you have questions, you can post them in the chat and we will read them out without stating your names. I have to turn off the transcription though. Okay. It's my pleasure. So welcome to the second webinar of our series on experiences of, in doctoral schools at European universities in Europe. And it's my greatest pleasure to introduce to you Skirmante. Well, your last name, we will just skip that.
Yeah.
So Skirmante, or her English name is Sky, a very nice name, which gives a lot of room for dreams and visions, in my point of view. So it's a very beautiful English name that you chose.
Good evening.
Skirmante is a researcher in urban design, and she has a lot of international experience. Right now, she's at Vilnius Tech, the University of Vilnius Tech. She is a researcher in urban design with a lot of international experience. And while doing the background research on Skirmante, I saw that you were also at the University of Kobe in Japan, which is which I find very intriguing, also because of a close connection to East Asia. So I'm always happy when I find people with a similar interest and experience than I have. Skirmante is also, and this is why we invited her today, she's the head of the doctoral school at Vilnius Tech and will therefore tell us the background of the school, so how it came about, how it is structured, and also the experiences with students and their needs and challenges in doctoral education at the university, at your university. I will give the floor to you right now because we only have about 1 hour, so don't use too much time. Again, welcome, Skirmante, and thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Julia, very much for a nice introduction. So today I'm going to talk, I'll try to talk quickly and not waste your time on the opportunities and challenges of our doctoral school that we face, and probably this time I will try to focus not on the whole process because it's quite a lot to talk about, but I will try to talk about at the very beginning of the selection enrollment and all the process that we go through while enrolling the students and selecting them from the worldwide international candidates. So I'll quickly try to introduce our Vilnius Tech and doctoral school. I will speak about the preparation grounds for recruitment, then supporting the diversity and as well supporting the research when the students are already enrolled. So the facts and figures, our university was established in 1956. We have approximately, the number is changing all the time, around 9,000 students. 20% of them, they are international students from over the 80 countries. So as you can see, our university is really very international, and we promote that internationality because it's nice to have a really world soup in our university. We have around 1,000 academic staff members, and 76% of them, they are PhD students. PhD has a PhD degree. So as you can see, we really have a very, very well-educated academic staff. Also, we have 300 business partners worldwide and 400 partners of the university from 60 countries globally. And we are proud to belong to the Athena Alliance of universities. We have now 11 faculties. So as you can see, aviation faculty, architecture, business management, civil engineering, creative industries, electronic. So basically most of the technological sciences. And this year we have a new faculty, which is the Marine Academy. So speaking from the terms of transport engineering, we're covering all the transport kind of facilities, air, marina, land, railways, and all that kind of stuff. Also, we have 43 research divisions, so it's 6 research centers, 12 research labs, and 13 research institutes. We have over 100 study programs in bachelor and master studies, and we are proud to say that we have around 12 PhD field of study programs, and they are basically in technological sciences. Also, we have more of them covering in social sciences, very little in humanities and nature sciences. But the research in our university, we have the 7 priorities where we're focusing on, which is the main goal of our university. So it's in sustainable buildings, environmental and energy technologies, sustainable transport, mechatronics, information and communication technologies, economic engineering, management and communication, fundamental research, and material and processes. So basically all our research and PhD student topics, they are focusing on all those research priorities. This is like a big umbrella, and all the other research topics falls under this big umbrella. Also, we have 43 research divisions. So if someone of the PhD students from your universities are interested to come and do the internship in our university, we're definitely going to find the room for them. Apart from that, also Vilnius Tech University is very much in collaboration and cooperation in the research. So these are the major categories. I'm not going to read and waste your time, but probably we're going to share the slides. So you will see major areas where our researchers are doing the research, and the areas where they are open for the collaboration, for R&D, for scientific collaborations, and for all the various collaborations between the scientists and between the universities. Also, we have 16 research journals. 10 of them, they are listed in Web of Science. 3 of them, they have the Q1 quartile, and 13 of them, they are in Scopus databases. And from those 13, 3 of them, they have the Q1. Apart from that, we have great facilities. So 3 faculties recently joined our Sunrise Valley and moved from the central parts of the city. So now we have around 8,500 square meters of R&D and research study areas. The investments, as you can see, they are quite big. So now we are basically focusing and allocated in Sunrise Valleys, where most of our infrastructures and all the research is being done in here. Also, we are proud to be one of the Baltics universities who has the sustainability hub, which is operating, which has the study programs, and which has really, really very up-to-date facilities that accommodate all the sustainability aspects in our university. And quickly to mention that we have also the design factory, which has also the most recent infrastructure. One of those is for the creative industries is the 3D 3D and 360 filming, where most of our films that are filmed in Lithuania, they also take the place in the lab and also finish their final productions in here as well. So jumping from all our facilities and all our study programs and research to the doctoral studies. As I've mentioned, we have 12 fields of science. So in humanities, it's quite small field in humanities. We have history and theory of arts. So basically it's allocated in the faculty of the architecture. So all urban designers, landscape architects, industrial design students who are willing to complete their 3rd cycle. So they apply for the humanities. Also, we have nature sciences, informatics. This is pure informatics, or basically mathematics. So apparently it has quite little students because the program is quite difficult and it's not as popular as informatics engineering. But still, we get a lot of interested, very niche students who are willing to complete their PhD in informatics. And we have quite great range in social sciences, covering the management, economics, communication, information. To mention that communication information is one of the recent ones, PhD programs that we gained the right in 2021. So it's really, really fresh program, and we still... This year, we're going to have the first graduates from this program. So we're really excited to see what the PhD thesis are going to look like on the defense. And in technological sciences, we are covering mostly all of the technological sciences. So starting from electronics, civil engineering, transport engineering, environmental engineering, informatics, material sciences, and mechanical engineering. As you can see, our doctoral studies or doctoral student numbers, they're not that great. And the issue is that our doctoral study time or the doctoral studies period, they're very strongly regulated by the Research Council of Lithuania. So our students are studying 4 years, and during the 5th year, they have to defend, which is a bit different than in other European countries. That's why our numbers are quite low, because in other countries, the student sometimes have the eternity right, or if they do not graduate on time and if they do not finish their PhD thesis, they are still hanging in the system as the PhD student, which creates the greater number for other universities. So all those numbers of the PhD students, as you can see in here, they are active, they are live students, and they are really actively participating in the PhD defense, which or in PhD process, which starts from the very first year till the 4th year. And when they graduate, they are no longer as students. They have the student privileges, and they have the access to the universities, but they are not listed as the students in our student registry and student systems. So this is the biggest difference and kind of a bit of the struggle for the university to say that we have only this number of the students when other universities have 2,000, 3,000. But when you ask them how many active students do you have, so this is active students numbers for sure. So as you can see through the different scientific fields, how the student numbers are distributed. So we are happy to say that technological sciences has the most of 77% of the students, nature sciences has 2%, social sciences has 17%, and humanities are hanging with the 4% of the students. And also we have our doctoral studies as a full-time studies and a part-time studies. Apart from being an international university and having the students in 2 different study programs, full-time and part-time, we are very much international PhD doctoral study program, because we have the students from Ukraine, Belarus, Germany, Lebanon, Spain, Italy, Estonia, and the variety of the students get bigger and bigger. So basically, we're happy to say that around 15%. This year, it's a little bit lower number because we have more national students, but last year it was 32% of the international students. So the numbers, as I mentioned, they're fluctuating from year to year, but definitely we can say that our PhD program is very much international. Also, in our PhD study programs, we have the students who fund themselves. We have the PhD students who are funded by the Research Council through the different funding schemes. And also we have, last year we had 3 scholarships from the university. Vilnius Tech announced, our rector announced the 3 scholarships for promising researchers. So we added 3 students there. And as well, the students, as I mentioned, who has the funding from the work or the funding by themselves. Every year, we have quite a great number of the PhD topics for the potential candidates. These numbers changing as well. We had 1 year around 100 PhD topics, and this shows our capacity of our researchers to have the PhD students and how many of them can have the PhD students. As I've mentioned, our doctoral studies are quite regulated. So every PhD supervisor who wants to have a PhD candidate, they have to pass through the qualifications. So the doctoral process, even it's quite strict and regulated, we still have a great numbers of the PhD supervisors and the topics in each of the different scientific field where we can have a great capacity of the PhD students. And to mention additionally that every year government-funded positions are dedicated from the Research Council and from our Education Ministry. So basically, they calculate the production of the scientists, graduation rates, and all that scientific capacities of our university and our academic staff in different scientific fields. And that's how they calculate the funded positions from the government that we get from year to year. And we are happy that the numbers are slowly growing. As I've mentioned previously, we have full-time studies and part-time studies. So the 4-year study program is for the full-time studies. So a student starts from the 1st year, graduates at the 4th year, and then they have 1 year for their PhD defense. For the 6th year students, they study part-time. It's a bit a slower pace, which takes time, but during the seventh year of their studies, they have to graduate their PhD defense. If the students do not succeed and things go wrong, then they move to another stage, which is called external defense of the PhD thesis, and then they have to pay for the PhD defense. And they have to, when they apply for the external defense, they have to defend their PhD thesis in a year from the beginning or when the PhD external defense request is submitted. So it's quite tight and really challenging, I would say, to graduate in 1 year when you had just submitted the documents for that. So we try to pass all the students and to, kind of supervise them and monitor them through all the process that we would have them with the final graduation and successful graduation during the 5th or the 7th year. To mention, our doctoral studies consist, as usually in all the universities around Europe, from 30 credits or no less than 30 credits of the doctoral courses. They are different depending on the scientific field, depending on the professional field. Also, the students are requested to do their research networking, to do their internship. Hopefully, if they can do, it's no less than 3 months during the study period, but we have the funding from the Erasmus and other funding institutions to go for the internship for the 12 months, but our PhD students are working, so not all of them succeed to do that. Also, the PhD students are required to go for the conferences, to give the presentations, and also to publish their scientific research results in the scientific publications, preferably in a Web of Science for technological studies and social studies, and also the journals published in Web of Science databases. They have to have the citation indexes. Also, doctoral students are not obliged, but recommended for them to have the academic experiences, so they can request or they can ask to join teaching in different study modules, and also they can work as the young scientific researchers in different institutes and different faculties, depending on where they are enrolled and where their research capacities are needed. And when all the processes are complete, when all the articles are published, the PhD is written, they have completed all the internships and presented their work in the other university as the final results, then they go to the PhD defense when all the process completed, and hopefully they complete and defend their PhD. Apart from that, as I mentioned, it's not only for our students, but we accept the international students all year around, and we are in charge of that. So we accept not only the Athena or the Erasmus Plus University Partner students, but as well the students from worldwide. We accept them also to the PhD summer school for the practical training, and also they can take the lectures for the doctoral students. And this year we had quite a great number of the PhD students staying longer than 3-month period. So it was around 20 students, and the countries are really, really exotic and quite diverse. So as you can see, there was from Kazakhstan, Turkey, Morocco, Brazil, Czech Republic, and other countries that I even don't remember. So as you can see, we are really international university, and we have even greater capacities to accommodate more PhD students or the doctoral students from around the world. And speaking now how we enroll the students and how we managing our challenges through all the enrollment processes. So I would like to start from the stage of preparing the ground. So every year for the international students and also our local students, we prepare around 40 PhD topics to publish them on the international and national platforms. Just the very first ones where we are seeking for the international students who would like to apply to our university, because the other part of our students, when we publish all those 90 topics, our students quickly take the places and contact all the potential supervisors. So with those 40 topics, we publish them nationally and internationally. So we have several platforms where we advertise all those topics. It's quite challenging to encourage the professors or the potential supervisors to submit the topic, because sometimes during that process, when we recruit them, the selection of the international students is a bit of the blind process, because we see how the student looks nice on the papers, but we actually do not know them. So that's where the challenges are coming. For us to convince the professors that we will try to select the best ones for you. We will do the interviews, or we will try to kind of support and back up you during the interview process for you to select the best one. And then we get through the selection of the candidates, we get through the process where we have loads of the applications that we have to go through, and we have to review all the paid fees of all the applications, if the applications are fully filled, to read the motivation letters, if it's worth showing to the professors or not. So it's quite really a hell of the job to do, because the great numbers of the applicants that do not read carefully what is written in the application, do not really match sometimes the field where they apply. So it's quite a big process how to manage it. And also when all the selection and neglection processes is done, when we find those really perfect ones, or at least it looks to us perfect ones, we pass them to the potential supervisors. And then the process starts again when they start interviewing them. And just to give you a little bit of the hint how it looks like, so these are the platforms where we publish our study programs. And as you can see, it's quite a bit of the job to do that, to list everything, to put the topics, and just to see if there's no mistakes, and if the fees are right, the periods are right, the contact details are right, and geography as well. It's quite diverse. So we have to read all the different dialect or English motivation letters from all the different countries, also to see through all the AI applications, where the students or the potential candidates even do not bother to change anything. So all that process is a bit of the going through sometimes bad applications, sometimes really good ones, sometimes that look good on the paper, but not really when you read in depth all the application. So probably the same situation is in other universities. So we have the great majority of the applicants that comes from the Asia, then the Africa follows, then we have the applicants who apply from the European countries, then we have North Africa, South Africa, and Oceania. So this is how the application process and our external international students, where they're coming from and how it looks like. And then when they are already selected, when we look through the motivation letters, when we arrange the meetings with the supervisors, when we look through the documents, and if supervisors say that this is the potential candidate, then we start the validation of the diploma process. Then this is where it gets like super hard, because different countries have the different regulation system, different education system. Sometimes you look at it on the paper, it's master student, but when you start looking at actually what the master studies they have done, it looks more bachelor rather than masters. So we have our international office who helps us to go through all that validation process, to validate the diplomas. And when the diplomas are validated, then we pass them already and prepare PhD candidate and the supervisor for the interview in the scientific field committee, where we also try to take part and just to see if the processes are going well. And then if the process went well, so we issue the admission documents. If it didn't go well, so we issue non-acceptance letters. But then when the things go really a bit difficult, because all the students would like to know the feedback, why they didn't perform well or what was differently. So we kind of really get attacked by the students by giving them the feedback on the interviews and everything else, which we are not supposed to, or we are not obliged to. So we have to write them a very polite letter saying like try again, or we had the better candidates, and so on and so forth, which is really sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes really frustrating to go through all that process when the students sometimes are being really mean. Yeah, and then the challenges that we find that most of the applicants, sometimes they fake the application fees, that we do not find this in our fake documents. So we actually have to then say, thank you, no, but you were not accepted because the documents and the fees were not paid, or the documents were invalid. Motivation publications, it's sometimes hard to find where those publications were in which databases, because they publish in worldwide scientific journals, which sometimes they are listed, sometimes they are not, and it's quite difficult to track them, or for them it's quite difficult to prove if they were in the Web of Science databases, because they are in different languages. So that kind of internationality gives a nice kind of thing to the university to say, yes, we are very international, but behind that nice kind of approach, or the nice shiny things that university gives as a data, there's a very hard work behind that to monitor, to validate all those processes, to make those numbers shine, literally. And then when everything looks more or less right, also we go through the AI check, which is now becoming a more maybe a major issue, rather than the documents and legislation, legalization documents, because the research proposals, all the motivation letters, they look so alike. They sometimes look too good to be true, and you never know if the student meaning those things what they're writing. So it's quite difficult to kind of approach and just to see which other things are real and which other things fake about the student, because when they start talking, it's totally different story than what was written, rather than what was written actually in their motivation letters. By having those issues, we still try to support the diversity in different ways, from non-traditional candidates, for international students, and as well part-time students in the campus and off-campus students. So with non-traditional candidates, we're really happy to have them. They are coming from very different backgrounds, and university gives an opportunity for all the type of the researchers, young researchers, and we support them. But the challenges that we are facing is selection of the right supervisor for those non-traditional candidates. For the international candidates, they bring a really nice experiences and different perspectives for the university and for our PhD community, and as well a bit more spices for our supervisors in our academical staff community. They have the different work approaches, they have the different work and research cultures, which also is quite a nice thing to share between the PhD students, and as well some of the potential international young researchers. If they successfully complete their PhD research, they are offered, if they are really good at the academic teaching, they are offered the positions to stay at our university, which also promotes the internationality between the academic staff. With the part-time students or the off-campus students, we don't have much of them, but those are the students sometimes who didn't get the permission of the longer stay in Lithuania, or those who finance themselves and do the part-time studies. So it's a great potential for them to study in their own country, also to save on their expenses by living in a different country. But at the same time, it provides the opportunity when they are off campus to work and study. However, this kind of things that the students has as a benefit has a downside as well, because these are the challenges that we or us as supervisors we face, because it's a bit of the difficult relationship regarding the communication, timelines, progress reports, feedbacks, as well work submissions, when the students are not on site and you cannot communicate with them directly. So these are the challenges that we always hear from the PhD supervisors that we face when we need the documents to be submitted on time. And it's quite difficult when they come for help, but we cannot help them because they are not here. As well, it's quite hard to manage the things institutionally. in terms of the internships, work, labor, teaching practices, which are requirements or not compulsory, but recommendations from the Research Council, but then they are evaluated as the achievements that we achieve through the PhD process. So those are the things that really do not help us, because sometimes the cultural adaptation for the students takes time as well. When we have them international, they have different approaches. They come from the different cultural backgrounds, and it takes time for them to adapt and to get along with the studies, apart from adapting in the cultural environments. And sometimes it's a cause for academic leave. Sometimes it's a cause where the health issues are appearing. So there's lots of different things with international students, but as well with the locals as well. Then we have the different expectations when we have the international students or the student non-traditional students, because professors or the supervisors have one expectations, and then the PhD student had the other expectations, how the studies might look like. Then also there's a difference in expectations of the skills and knowledge, what the students writing in the applications, and actually what do they know, and we cannot test them ahead. So that's where the different struggles and the challenges comes when the students start working on their PhD thesis, and when they start daily communication with their PhD supervisors. Also, sometimes it's a bit of the struggle when we have those international students and we go through the selection processes, and the PhD supervisor has to give like recommendation and acceptance letter, and he is willing to become a PhD supervisor for that particular PhD candidate. But then the issue comes that he doesn't know him, and how he can give an exception for the person that he doesn't know. So these are the issues that we often challenge in the enrollment processes every year. And international students, because they're coming from other universities, most of the times they would like to have the double degree cocktail agreements with their first university, or the university where they graduated their bachelor and a master's degree, where they know their professors. But it's a bit of the struggle that our Research Council and Education Ministry do not issue a cultural diploma with two affiliations at the one diploma with two university logos. So we're trying to tackle it through the different institutions, through the vice rector, through the rector conferences, how to overcome those challenges and to finally have that possibility to have the cultural diploma and cultural degrees and agreements for our potential and existing PhD students. And then another point, when I was mentioning the non-traditional students with their specific requirements that require their specific supervisors, and they take much longer time to do the PhD and much longer time to go through all the study processes, but we're constrained in the time frame. And we try to accommodate and support them and help them as much as possible, because they are non-traditional ones, and all the universities who has those type of the students, they know what it means. And then this year we had extreme challenge with the migration processes, because we, as I've mentioned, we are quite international offices, and due to all the things happening around the world in terms of the politics, in terms of the military actions in the neighboring countries, we have extremely slow migration processes, which constrain us on enrolling the international students, because the migration legislations and processes take over 3 months from the inquiry. So these are the challenges that we have to face daily, that we have to work not only through enrollment processes, which are the biggest one challenges, but also through other processes when the students are already enrolled. And apart from that, we are happy to have some achievements from the challenges, because we learned from them, and we try to support our PhD candidates, our PhD supervisors, in terms of providing them the academical guidances. So last year and this year, we're going to have the academic staff for the PhD supervisors training. Then we provide the doctoral internship through the projects, through Erasmus Plus programs, through all the different support programs that we have in Lithuania. Also, our university is very supportive for the young researchers. So we have international research internal projects, which were announced, I think, last week with South Korea, but still ongoing Taiwan and Slovenia research collaboration projects. Also, our PhD students every year, they are employed as the young researchers at the young researchers position. So we give the possibility for the PhD student to work and study at the same time. Also, we encourage the academical writing, which becomes a big issue when the AI tools now are heavily in use, but still the academic students have to use their brain. So we provide the academical training with our language editors in-house from Vilnius Tech. Also, we are very happy to have the support as Elsevier and Mendeley, who will provide us numerous writing seminars and trainings for all the tools that they have. Also, we have the Elsevier, the specific training for AI elements that they use in the Scopus databases, and also all the other tools to help and make the research for the PhD students easier with the academic. They call the Academy of the Elsevier with those tools that they are providing there. Also, we have AI lectures from our Vilnius Tech professors, and we support our PhD students with our PhD summer school, which are free for all our PhD students, where we train them with the professors from all around the world. And also, we're keeping the research on track and monitoring. All our faculties, they provide the doctoral student seminars in their scientific fields. They have the young researchers scientific conferences when the young researchers, our PhD students, can present their PhD research. They can have the debates and they can publish their first article in the scientific conference publications. So we support our students really, really very much, and we provide all the facilities to accommodate them. And I think that's already the third year when we launched the digital work and financial plan, where the students fill all the documents online, which makes, well, not sometimes much easier, but which makes the things easier to monitor, to see, to have all the expenses monitored digitally. And one thing is now in process. We have the digital lectures and consultation plan, which is now being developed in-house with our IT team, just to have online schedule for the lectures and for the consultations with the supervisors, so the students wouldn't able to say, I didn't find the professor, he wasn't there. So we will have all the proofs and all the times in which rooms and in what time all the PhD students will have the possibility to meet with their supervisor. So I think that would be it from me for this time. So these are the constraints and challenges that we're facing, and some of the achievements that we are happy to share with you.
Many thanks, Skirmante. It was very interesting, and I think everyone either learned something new or could relate to a lot of the challenges and the experiences that you have. We will start with the Q&A. So if anyone already has a question, they can either already raise their hand now and ask it, or if they have access to the chat and they don't want to write to say it, they can also write in the chat. So do we have anyone who has the first question? The first one is usually the hardest.
Yes.
Yes, please, Agatha.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, Skirmante. It was very interesting, especially because I had the first run, so I can compare your experience with ours. But I would like to know, maybe, I was not concentrate, but I don't understand this term non-traditional PhD students. What do you mean by non-traditional, traditional and non-traditional?
We had the PhD or the candidates from the Ukraine, and also the other candidates that have the health issues.
I see. Okay, so those are...
they are in literature called non-traditional students.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get
so
it.
It's quite a big challenge because sometimes when we enroll the students, I think the program was called scholars in can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember, but it was about the scholars in challenge or something, the programs, and we were supporting them since the beginning of the war. So you enroll them as humans look healthy, but they have lots of different issues which we don't even had an idea that we will come up with. So we're trying to deal them. We're trying to help them with the university facilities and everything else. So we try to accommodate all their needs and all the issues that they go through during their PhD studies.
Okay, I get you. And one more question is about do you organize interview with your PhD candidates? Because you said that, yes, so there's a interview. So if they are success with this project, yes, you organize as a school interview which confirm or not the ability to be a PhD student.
First of all, we when we select them, when we look through their motivation letters, we pass the application to the potential supervisor, so they could organize the meeting. We do not organize the meeting by ourselves. We ask the supervisor to talk with the potential candidates, and if there's few of them, just to organize the meetings with few of them, just because they are very specific. They know the specificity of the scientific field, so it's easier for the potential supervisor to ask the questions and to see if the student has the knowledge, or if not, what they're writing in the topic, just to test the background from the topic. It's so much easier. And when they say it's the potential candidate, we say, okay, shall we give him to write, for example, the research proposal? And then you can easily understand if the student has the knowledge or not, and if he's motivated to do it. Because most of them, they think if they have submitted all the documents, if they have submitted the motivation letter, it's the green light. And it's not actually, because they don't have all the information, all the knowledge. You have to do a little bit extra to get through that to the scientific committee. And if they write it, and if we check it, and if it's AI free, so then we say, okay, we validate all the documents through all our qualification office with the education, and then we pass their file to scientific committee, and then they interview them already, the committee. So they are tested several times to prove that they're really the ones who are the candidates.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Anyone has another question for Skirmanti?
Well, there's a lot of colleagues from our university, so they know everything, so that's why there's no questions.
That's true. Yeah, but maybe there is something they never understood or never dared asking, and that now is the moment.
We're very open for everyone.
Hi, I'm back.
Hello.
I still have the people in the house, but I wanted to come back because my husband is here, so he can take care of the technicians. I would have a question, if I may ask. I don't know whether somebody already raised it, but I was a little bit surprised by, like, not surprised, but I'm intrigued by your approach in defining topics that then students can apply to. So my first question would be, how broad and how specific do you define the topics? And what do you think are the benefits opposed to leaving the students, like the choice of the topic and also the framing to the students? And the third question related to that issue is, who and based on which criteria do you choose topics? Is it based on like is it research driven, or is it also maybe driven by funding, the national funding agency or European funding, like funding agencies that define strategic areas?
Okay, so answering the first question, so I think it's a tradition of the school and university that we provide the specific topics on which the scholar or the potential supervisor is working on, or in that particular field where he's doing the research. So for the international applicants, we provide quite broad topics, because some of our professors mentioned that they had the experience when the topics were kind of stolen or maybe taken and a little bit different paraphrasing and everything else. So we try to make them quite targeted, but at the same time quite wide, so there would be a room for interpretation or narrowing it down when we already know the particular candidates, and when the professor already wants to narrow it down and to go with that particular topic, then we register that topic in the scientific committee, and the committee evaluates the topic. So it's like all the topics had to be validated and evaluated by the scientific committee, and our scientific committees consist of 9 very noble researchers. Could be 9 and greater number, but from 9 noble researchers from that particular scientific field. So the topics coming from the professors who are working that particular field, but it's not a rule. Sometimes if there's funding, or if there's some topics coming from outside, for example, from the businesses, we have also the research council calls for collaboration, business and research. So they come up with the new topics for that particular call to get the governmental funded scholarships for the PhD candidates from the research council. So yes, we have untraditional and non-traditional topics depending on the calls, depending on the funding, and yes, they vary from year to year, and also vary depending on what type of the topic or the projects the professors are working on.
And what do you think are the benefits of this approach?
There's 2 different schools, I think, and there's no ops and cons, I would say, because one of the schools have kind of the tradition when the PhD student comes and say, I have this topic in mind, and then they adjust the topic. I think that's quite a great tradition, or at least to guide the student towards some kind of the professor, particular professor, or maybe to adjust a bit of the topic towards the professor scientific field. On the other hand, it's quite easy for the professor to write the topic and then to search for the student who would like to write a PhD in his topic, because he already knows the result, he knows, the methodology and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'm not in charge to evaluate which ones is better, but there's 2 different approaches, and our school is following the one when we submit the topics. And I think it's the easier for the PhD student to be guided already by the professor when he knows what will be the final result.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, then I would like to thank Skirmante for her insightful presentation. Another very interesting and intriguing perspective from a doctoral school in Europe. I take the occasion to announce the next talk, but I'm a little bit unprepared right now. No, sorry. So the next talk will be on the 22nd of January from 1 p.m. And it will be a talk. What comes next? Helping PhD students think beyond graduation by the researcher. And I'm sorry again that you caught me a little bit unprepared. So I have to open a website. Sorry. Oh, doctoral schools. Okay, here it is. Now I have it. So it's by Toby Erik Wikström. It's the graduate school of the University of Iceland. So Nordic countries, and who are famous for having their own process like approaches as well. You will get the link to the webinar again by email. So you will not need to register or anything, but you will get the webinar, the link to the webinar and time. Yes, and I think that's all from my side. If there are no other questions or information that you need, then I would conclude today's meeting.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh,
Thank you.
there's one question.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I hate doing so many things at the same time. So, okay. I'm gonna leave the meeting now, or can I stop the registration before? I think we have to cut it. And there's another thing. I stop it right now.